Now, I would be remiss if I didn't take one more chance and opportunity to crap a little bit on the Skidmarks of the NFL. You know, like, this soothes my soul. It makes me feel so good. Because I have to. I have to. And I know it's not even going to be the last time I say these basic same things, but it is therapeutic for me. So, folks, let me have my Skidmarks moment here for a moment or two, if you don't mind. I have to do it. Because what's hilarious to me about the Cleveland Browns is the whole Deshaun Watson business. Going back to 2017, they had not one, but technically two different opportunities to draft Deshaun Watson. It's one thing you say, hey, they took Myles Garrett number 1 overall. Okay, whatever. But they could have taken Deshaun Watson there at number 1. But then they had the 12th overall pick. Had another chance to take him. And said, nah, man, we'll peel back. So they could turn around the next year and take 6-foot Baker Mayfield, Baker Midfield himself, number 1 overall. So that way, a few years later, they could give up 3 first-round picks, and was it like 2 second-round picks, 4th-round picks, whatever the fuck. They gave a lot to trade for the guy they could have just stayed put at number 12 in 2017 and drafted anyways, in Deshaun Watson. Oh, how fucking stupid can you be? Skidmarks! And then you have a guy that didn't play in 2021, so you drop your pants to trade big for the guy you should have just damn drafted 5 years ago and give him a record amount of guaranteed money. Was it 5 years, $230 million, 100% guaranteed? For a guy that once you knew the suspension dropped, like the 11-game suspension, you were going to guarantee $230 million over 5 years to a guy, that by the time he would actually suit up in the Week 13 matchup against the Houston Texans, would have effectively not played for almost 2 seasons. Skidmarks! Oh, God. Now, with all of that said, you knew 2022 was going to be mostly a lost year for the Cleveland Browns. Like, you make that trade for Deshaun Watson. He's got the suspension. You know that you're probably hoping that Jacoby Brissett can stub the tide a little bit, and maybe Deshaun Watson gives you a late season boost and injection, but you have to be realistic and say, Brissett's a solid backup in the league. He's not a starter. And even Deshaun Watson coming back, he's going to be so damn rusty. He's going to use those last 5-6 games just to try and get some of the rust off and start getting ready for 2023. Like 2022 was one whole big preseason basically for the Cleveland Browns. It's a shame, too, because they wasted a really nice year from Nick Chubb. What a stud he is at the running back position. You know, they gave up the 5th-round pick to bring in Amari Cooper, and he had a nice year for them. Myles Garrett is adding to a resume that could someday lead to him being in Canton. He had a monster year as a pass rusher. So they've got some star performances, some star talent there in Cleveland. But at the end of the day, like I said, you knew because of their investment in Deshaun Watson and what came along with that this team wasn't going to do much in 2022. It was basically a lost year, and let's move on to the next one. Their defense, still not great, 25th against the run, 20th in points allowed. And you look at their offense, you could say, not surprisingly, because they played Brissett most of the year, their passing game was a challenge for them throughout the year, and being able to consistently score points was a challenge for them throughout the year. And if you're the Browns, you're Browns fans, I guess you have to hope that Deshaun Watson's going to fix that come 2023. But man, you look at the way he looked in those 6 games, he looked rough. He looked like a guy that hadn't played in over a year and a half. He looked like a guy that hadn't played a regular season game since the 2020 season. He looked like a guy that needed to massage the kinks out of his game. You get it? You get it? Ah, fuck off. So I say that to say, like when you look at it, if you're a Browns fan and you said, hey, maybe the last 3-4 games that Deshaun Watson looked fantastic, You say, man, 2022, we'll forget about that in no time. It's about 2023 in the future. And I can put aside my feelings about Deshaun Watson because, let's be honest, I don't give a crap. And let's face it, a lot of sports fans don't. It's even easy for me to sit there and say, why the fuck would you want anything to do with Deshaun Watson? But if the Bears were searching for a quarterback and they had made that deal, I'd have a little bit of problem with it, but I'm going to get over it really fucking quickly. Because let's face it, not just sports fans, but Americans in general are incredibly hypocritical beings. We are an incredibly hypocritical society. We just are. And it's kind of sickening when you think about, if Deshaun Watson comes out in 2023 and plays well, that's going to be the predominant thing. None of that other shit's really going to matter. Because it's really not going to matter. But if you're a Browns fan and you're the Browns organization, I think you got to feel kind of shaky about the future right now. Deshaun Watson didn't look great in the 6 games that he played, by any stretch of the imagination. You have no first-round pick this year, no first-round pick next year, no second-round pick this year, and oh, by the way, this team is also over the salary cap as of the time of this recording. Not a good spot to be. You basically are hanging your entire hat on Deshaun Watson coming back in 2023 and playing like a borderline elite quarterback. Now, here's the thing. That certainly is a possibility, right? And as much as I've tweeted about and talked about the AFC going forward, looks like it's going to be a real freaking dogfight. Just look at some of the quarterbacks in the conference. You're talking about Mahomes, Burrow, Allen, Herbert, Lawrence. Just right there. Kind of beastly. If Lamar Jackson comes back to the Ravens and he's healthy, there's another dude right there. And now all of a sudden you're talking about if Deshaun Watson comes back and gets closer to his form of old, there's another freaking dude. Man, the AFC is a fucking dogfight. And you assume maybe the Colts and the Texans each get a quarterback in the draft, and one of those two guys becomes like a top 10 type of quarterback. The AFC only gets tougher from there. Frickin' dogfight, dude. So the Browns have to hang their hats on the hopes that Deshaun Watson could be that superstar type of presence that the Skidmarks have been looking for at the quarterback position ever since they came back in being in 1999. This is about the only option they've really got at this point. I just don't know how well it's going to work, because at some point in time, going 3 years without a first-round pick, multiple years also without a second-round pick, that starts to catch up to you. And you're a team that's already over the salary cap. How much more room for growth is there for you, really? You're putting a lot of eggs in that Deshaun Watson basket. And the Skidmarks better hope. They better hope it works. Otherwise, they're going to have Hershey stains all over themselves.